Football game tonight, boy. It's gonna be a great night tonight.
How can you not be romantic about football? Anything's possible.
This is the Mazz and Badz Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.
Good Tuesday morning from the Mazz and Badz crew here, back again in full force. Mazz, we missed you so damn much last week, but Mazz and Badz Show, Charlie Baduini, co-host Brandon Marrazzo, and of course, I'm pointing right now, but this is totally not where things are going to end up. Producer, Mr. Anthony Cafone. Once again, Mazz, happy to have you back. We missed you last week. Previewing Wildcard Weekend just wasn't the same, but I think breaking it down with you is going to be a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, fellas, it's good to be back. Family's going through it right now, but, hopefully we get some good news and keep it moving. Shout out Pops, bro. He's fighting.
Shout out Mr. Marrazzo. And we're gonna rock through it with the best distraction in the entire world, which is pro sports. And
not only pro sports, it's playoff time, baby.
Playoff time.
Playoffs?
The best time of year. You kidding me? Playoffs.
We're lucky if we can win a game.
Quick plug to the socials at Mazz and Badz on TikTok and Instagram. Go check it out. Drop a follow, drop a like, and maybe a comment as well.
5,100, Chucky. 5,128. The biggest video we've ever done. Who would have thought it would have been about the guy that you hate more than anybody else in the league, Josh Allen?
Yeah, I think that's just a testament to how hot that MVP debate is right now. Like it's a buzz. There's a lot of vitriol on both sides.
Yeah, there's a debate going on right now? There's a debate?
Yeah, there absolutely is a debate. There should be a debate.
Sure. I don't see
Did you not just see his performance because it was better than Lamar's?
It's a regular season award, buddy.
It is a regular season award, and as I've made, you know what? I'm not even going to spoil it. Go check out on the socials, the TikTok. You'll see the video. It's the biggest one out there. Chucky, I really got to be honest with you. I thought that something was going to blow up was going to be for us being hated on for something. I never thought it was going to be positive like that. We got 95% positivity on that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I thought it was going to be 95% negativity and someone just calling us idiots.
There's always going to be the shitheads that are going to be like, oh, what, no matter whatever you say, it's going to be like.
I don't care if you agree or disagree. If I can just make you talk about it after you're listening, I've done my job. Skip Bayless has made a career off of that. Stephen A. Smith has made a career off of that. I want to make a career off of that.
Well, we're taking baby steps right now in terms of that, but. What do you guys say we hop right into Super Wildcard Weekend?
Yeah, baby. Let's get into it.
So, first matchup on Saturday was the Chargers at the Texans. I personally had the Chargers winning going into this one, and you had picked the Texans last week. Mazz, you had also picked the Texans. We texted you beforehand. I just did not expect Justin Herbert to play the way he did, which was lay an egg. And he is really... You guys know I've been championing him for years. As long as we've been talking on WMSC, on this, you name it. I've been a big Justin Herbert fan. I think he's got all the talent in the world, but he's starting to earn that tag of playoff choker.
2 words. Overrated. I think he's a good quarterback. I think the problem is that people looked at his first couple of seasons which really didn't accomplish much, but the stats look good. But listen, he's had some decent pieces at wide receiver. Keenan Allen was balling out with him. And Keenan Allen, I know, is taking a step back, but even look at Caleb Williams' best games. It's when Keenan Allen is performing, right? So I think that's just how important he was just to a wide receiving core. And there's so much talent and experience there. He's in that Mike Evans category, not as good as Mike Evans, but just an underrated guy who makes quarterbacks stand out regardless of who's throwing the ball. So the thing with Herbert is I think that there's just been too much hype around him with those stats. And everybody's just like, yo, look at this. He's top 10. He's top 10. But there's really nothing to show for it. I agree. I think he's hanging in that top 10. I do think that it's that bottom half of the top 10, maybe dipping down into that 15 range somewhere. But I just think that there's been too much hype around him. he still needs a little bit more time. I do not like their wide receiver core right now. Their team is still technically rebuilding, and I knew damn well that a D'Amico Ryan defense was going to show up and do work against it. Did not expect that bad a performance out of Herbert, but I just think that he doesn't really live up to the moment, especially later in the game. So I think that there's still a lot of room to grow, but I just think that the train was just way too hot with the hype, bro. Like, he ain't him yet. He could be, but he's not yet.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest shock coming into it for me was the Texans. I think it was their defense came in like ranked like 22nd in the league, and they come out of this game with almost like 4 or 5 turnovers. Like that's just I don't know what it is, but playoff mode switched on and they flipped the switch. And if they want a shot at Kansas City next weekend, they're going to have to play like that. And CJ Stroud's going to have to play the way he did on Sunday, which is relative turnover free football. I think he had a pick. But other than that, he played a really good game, really controlled things at the line of scrimmage for the Texans, getting the ball out fast to Nico Collins. I mean, Joe Mixon had a great game. This Texans team, man, they got some playoff experience. They got some wins under their belt, and they're moving on.
Yeah, I think right now with this Texans team is the biggest thing is when they get into these wild card weekends. Like last year with Cleveland, everyone thought Cleveland was going to go in there and dominate. Same thing this year with the Chargers, but I think the Houston, when they play at home, they got this confidence about them in the playoffs, and they really set the tone early in that game. You know, Herbert, a couple of bad throws, that one that went over the head. I think it was of Quentin Johnston that got picked off, returned for a touchdown. I don't think right now he's just comfortable in the system. And I think the Chargers, their offense was predicated mainly on their running game this season. And no J.K. Dobbins this week. Gus Edwards, as much as he's a good short yardage back, he's not a big playmaker in the run game that churns out 20, 30+ yard runs. And when you don't get that in this system, that's why the Chargers weren't really moving the ball effectively like they wanted to. And on the other side, Houston, their defense is fantastic. I think that's one of the main things why I picked them this past week. Because I just think their defense is young, hungry, and they were playing really good ball outside of that Ravens game in the latter half of that season. So I think they set the tone early. They played their game that they wanted to play, and I'm glad they were able to get the win. And I'll be rooting for them next week against Kansas City. You know how I am, but I don't see them. Yeah, I think it's gonna be ending for them.
No, the train has ended because here's the problem right now. First off, I want to know where the hell was Zeke? You signed Zeke. I didn't even see him. I got Gus Edwards. I got J.K. Dobbins. Come on, where was Zeke? Give me something. What was the point of signing him? Second, here's the issue. C.J. Stroud did not play a great game. He's going to be playing a much better defense, a much better offense. He's down 2 of his top weapons, right? No Tank Dell, no Stephon Diggs. I do not believe that they have the firepower. I do not think that they have to be damn near perfect to beat Kansas City, and I just do not see it happening because let's be honest too, not to say that there's a conspiracy or whatever, but Kansas City gets all the breaks. It's what happens when you generate the most money and interest, right? It's the Taylor Swift effect, the Patty Mahomes effect, the Travis Kelsey effect. Everything is just they're the money makers, and you have to be perfect to beat the money makers. And I just do not see the Texans with this current roster getting the job done. I mean, what they lose 1 game the entire season?
Yeah, I mean the starters they lost week 18 to Denver, but they had half the guys benched. So
your starters have lost 1 game to the Bills that was in the middle of the season, which was a nice win for the Bills, but I'm pretty sure that game was played up in New York. So, they're going to have the home field advantage. We know that Arrowhead is legitimately one of the better home field advantages in the league. And I think the gravy train has run out for the Texans. Although I will be rooting for them, it might as well just be a bye for the Chiefs at this point.
I got a hot take for you guys. Actually, maybe it's not so hot because Ant's gonna like this. But when it comes to the Chargers, I don't think they're gonna win a playoff game under Jim Harbaugh until they get a new offensive coordinator.
Oh, I completely agree with you, Charlie.
Greg Roman, he's not an NFL offensive coordinator, and he somehow still got a job. Somehow still, it's just...
He should be a run game coordinator. That should be his position.
Yes.
As a run game specialist, he draws up some of the best run designs you'll ever see. That's why the Chargers' run attack this year was so good with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. But his passing schemes are just so outdated. And when you have a guy like
So
Justin
bad.
Herbert, you need to have a guy who can spread the ball around and be a good offensive coordinator. So I mean, hopefully, did they fire Kellen Moore last year? Right?
They did.
Yeah, I wish they would have kept Kellen Moore paired up with Jim Harbaugh. I think that would have been a good mixture.
So the problem is though too is that like you look at like personnel, like somebody like I can't even tell you who's legitimately the best wide receiver for the Chargers. Like they're kind of stuck in that Green Bay position where like there's some guys who can make plays every now and then, but there's not like a solidified number one for different reasoning. Now Green Bay doesn't have that due to injury, I think, and just uh inconsistency mixed in there, but the Chargers just legitimately need to go get talent. Like I think like a T Higgins needs to be on that radar, or you need to be looking at wide receiver in the draft because Herbert needs to be able to link up with a guy. He's got good arm talent. I'm not saying the kid there's not potential there. Like anybody to say that is a schmuck. I'm just saying we're not there yet, but we could be.
Keenan Allen come home. I think he's on the last year of his deal, expiring in Chicago right now.
I mean, like that's fine for veteran presence, but you need to start taking the steps
Yeah.
into the future. You need to go get that next guy. You know,
Any LSU receivers coming out this year?
the one actually just got
Kyrie
into
Macy. Oh boy.
yeah, just got into a legal trouble
Uh-oh.
due to there was a car accident that I'm pretty sure that he caused, where a Marine ended up passing away in the accident. So I don't even know if like this kid's career might be, you know, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's coming out of that yet. I just saw reports that he was wanted by police. So I have no clue, but that's the big LSU wide receiver, and I don't know, dude. So yikes.
Moving on.
Yep.
That's messed up.
Yeah, no, dude. It was it's wild.
That sucks. That's
Was that
really
a
awful.
and was that a DUI?
No, I don't. I'm not gonna say here and say I know that for
Yeah.
sure. I don't think.
Probably shouldn't
No,
speculate.
I'm not gonna speculate on that.
Yeah, if anybody would have known for sure, it would have been Ant. But yeah, you listen, it is what it is. We'll have more on that story as it unfolds. But yeah, so no, but there is a wide receiver out of Arizona that's pretty good. So I
T
think
Mac.
is going to be on a lot of radars. So but moving forward,
Moving forward, the part 2 of Saturday's opening Wildcard Weekend doubleheader was the Pittsburgh Steelers heading down to the bank, Baltimore, to play the Ravens, and they got manhandled. Let's call it as we see it. They were physically dominated by the Ravens. They were able to do whatever they want with them offensively, defensively. Derrick Henry, I mean, good Lord, he smacked a grown man with kids, as I heard next to me when we were watching Saturday night at Center Court. That was really, really fun time. The Steelers. So on Saturday night, me and Ant are at Center Court. We're watching with a group of guys, right? Ryan White, big Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and the discussion kept coming up. Is Mike Tomlin never had a losing season. One of the winningest coaches in NFL history. His winning percentage is out of this world. But at a certain point, is enough enough? 6 straight playoff appearances without wins, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what you said to us before the show started. Yeah, I haven't won a Super Bowl since 2008. Hasn't been to the Super Bowl since 2011. Guys, is Mike Tomlin? Is he on the hot seat? Is he on his way out of Pittsburgh, or what's the play there? If you're up in the upstairs in the Steelers front office making decisions,
Omar Khan's got to go. I don't
The
think it's
GM.
Mike Tomlin. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what it comes down to. What have they done? They brought in Russell Wilson, who's pretty good. They brought in Justin Fields, who could have some potential, but there was nothing to work with on offense. You had George Pickens. That's your only option. Name the second wide receiver on that team. You can't.
Calvin
All right,
Austin,
that's who you want? Are you
Mike
kidding me?
Williams.
Come on. Like there's no second option. That's my problem. The offensive line, not the best in the world, was okay at times, but I don't know, man. I like Najee Harris, but when they know that you're gonna run the ball 80% of the damn time, like you're limited on it. The defense obviously is good, right? But I don't think this is a coaching problem. I think this is a personnel problem. I don't think that they have gotten the right guys in there since Ben Roethlisberger and it has left. And even before Roethlisberger, they were rocking with Mason Rudolph for a little bit. Who was Mason Rudolph even throwing to? Fryermuth? Like, come on. So it's like, how many times do we have to like blame a coach for not having the correct personnel? It's not like Mike Tomlin can go and get whoever he wants at the end of the day. Like, I think the coach is great. Winning is contagious, but with the certain group of guys, it has a threshold, and I don't believe that there's been the right group of guys. Now, if Mike Tomlin has all the control and he's bringing in the guys, then okay, Mike, then you need to relinquish some control because you're just not doing it. But a GM is there for a reason. I believe that they have to have those says as well. I know Tomlin has a lot of influence, but at the end of the day, whoever's making the personnel moves with Pittsburgh, that's who needs to be changed because they do not have they clearly have the scheming and the coaching to win regular season games, to make it to the dance. They do not have the personnel to be the king of the dance, So I just think whoever is calling those shots has done a horrible job for the last almost decade.
Here's all I'll say. Ready? When you're playing blackjack at the casino, and you get dealt your hand of cards, right? Say you get an 8 and a 10, right? 18. You don't hit on 18, do you? Because that's what you got in Mike Tomlin. You don't have blackjack. You don't have a 19, 20. You don't have 21. You got 18. You don't need to hit. You can just stand. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Like if you fire Mike Tomlin, what are you firing him for? A potential coach that might put you over the hump? The odds are that coach you bring in after Mike Tomlin is going to be worse, and he's gonna lose. Like he's not going to be as consistent of a winner as Mike Tomlin. He's not going to have as many winning seasons. He won't be there for 25 years. Steelers fans, I understand the frustration with not winning a playoff game in so long, but coming from
Not the Jets, with all due respect.
coming from a fan of a team that hasn't even seen the playoffs in 15 years, the grass isn't always greener. You're in a good spot. At minimum, every year at minimum, going into a new season, hey, if we make one tweak, we have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. We make one change, we acquire this player, whatever, we have a chance to go into the Super Bowl. Can't take that for granted. You just can't.
They should have been more aggressive in acquiring a second wide receiver. I think that changes things. Their passing game wasn't really there this season. Like if George Pickens wasn't having Superman antics, there was really no passing game, regardless of who was playing quarterback. So and like you said, Chucky, I love that you brought that up because I understand the frustration of Steelers fans. Some of them they haven't seen a Super Bowl since being back in high school, right? And I understand that, but what coach that is available right now is going to have that same season with this roster? You think Rex Ryan or Ron Rivera are capable of doing that? I'm sorry, I don't even.
Aaron Glenn.
I don't think. Maybe I don't even think he's
Maybe
capable
it's
of
possible.
it.
It's
I don't
possible.
even think so.
It's not a sure thing.
I like Mike Vrabel. I don't even think Mike Vrabel is capable of putting up a good season with that roster. I think the roster is that mid. Like there's some pieces to work with. I think Russ did the best that he could with what he was given, right? But overall, the offensive capabilities of this team is limited. And if the defense isn't having a stellar performance, then they're exactly who we thought they were, middle of the damn pack.
But here's Charlie. There's also one thing I want to bring up when it comes to Mike Tomlin. It just seems like every year they go on this run, whether it be at the beginning of the season or at the end of the season, where they play hot football. But mixed into that is a lot of inconsistency, playing down to bad teams, and then once you get to the playoffs, it's embarrassment. Frankly, you lose to the Browns and the Ravens, both in the playoffs, division rivals, in a span of 4 years. It's going to create a lot of bad feelings within the franchise. And you could tell that the Steelers in this game were just mentally checked out. From the opening kickoff, they were just getting physically dominated. The Ravens ran the ball over 40 times over the game and almost ran for 300 yards on the ground. It was just to the point where they were getting 5-6 yards a pop every single time. Lamar could do whatever he wanted. Henry could do whatever he wanted. And this is supposed to be the team with the highest paid defense in the NFL. Normally teams are investing 60% in their offense and 40% in their defense. The Steelers are 30 offense, 70 defense. And the fact that they're getting dominated this bad, in a playoff game against a hated rival, to me, that just shows that this team is starting to, not play to the expectations that they need to be playing at. And that falls on the head coach. And I know there's a security blanket in being with Tomlin. He's been here for 15 years, 20 years, whatever, and he's never had a losing season. But you have to take a risk as a franchise, and that's the biggest thing. When you're constantly going through these stages of mediocrity and just getting to the bare minimum, the fans are not going to appreciate it, and eventually they're just going to start losing support for it. And you can tell right now with the Steelers that's kind of where it's at. I think you gotta make the change at head coach and start looking in a different direction because this team, they're the Steelers, right? They're the 6-time world champions, one of the most successful franchises in the history of the NFL. And when this is the result every single season, fans aren't satisfied, and they're making it known right now throughout the Steelers fandom. I agree with the sentiment right now. I think you got to move on from Tomlin. You got to start making the moves necessary. I think it's hard for them to get a quarterback this year because the free agency class is not great, and they're not going to have a pick to pick one of the top guys. So I think maybe you run it back next year with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is your quarterback for 2025. Uh, you bring in another solid head coach, whether it be Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson. I think you make a trade for Tyreek Hill to get another big weapon. I think there's some things that this Steelers team can do going into next offseason that can get them back to the point where they need to be at. And I think Tomlin leaving is the first step.
Am I crazy to think that Russell Wilson should be running this back if you're going to bring in weapons? Like, I'm sorry, I like Justin Fields, but he still hasn't learned how to throw. I've preached about this. He doesn't know what kind of pass to throw. Russ put up numbers. They were winning games with Russ. Like, they looked really good this season at times with Russ. Give him some damn weapons. Go get a Tyreek, right? Like, the last time the Steelers won a Super Bowl, yes, the defense was good, but Big Ben was slinging that thing, So it's like you need to like take that 70% defense. That's great. Even with the most dominant defenses, the way that the game has turned in the facet of change of just where we are, everything benefits the offense. So even when a defense is great, they're still handcuffed to an extent compared to an offensive capability because everything goes the offensive way. 50-50 calls, offense is getting it. It just, you can't even breathe on a quarterback these days without a flag. Defensive linemen can't do their job. You cannot touch a wide receiver these days like you were able to at times. So the cornerbacks are handcuffed. Your safeties are handcuffed. Your linebackers are handcuffed. So you need to start building on that offensive side of the damn ball. That's how you win. Yes, having a good and elite defense can make the difference, but you're not going to win the big one or win in the playoffs if you can't score the damn ball.
And to your point earlier, Mazz, and I know you were talking about the percentage of the cap that's dedicated to each side of the ball. That sounds more like a personnel problem than it does a coaching problem to me. Does Mike Tomlin make personnel decisions for the Steelers? I know he's been there a long time. But
I know he has a lot of influence in it, but you can't tell me he's making every call
Well,
right
I'm
now
saying
when you
this
have a
too.
GM.
The Steelers defense was a top 5 unit for most of the season. The fact that they
Sure.
collapsed in this playoff game with one of the highest ranked paid defenses in football, that's got to be on coaching. And Tomlin's
But
the
like,
defensive side of the ball guy.
that defense is going to gas when you can't move the damn ball, right? Like, I don't care how much you're paying them. It's harder to play defense than offense every time because you're reacting to everything. So you're always technically a step behind unless you just get your reads right and you're able to be there a slight step ahead or be there at the same time that you need to be. The offense is always out of advantage because they should know where the ball is going. So it's just harder playing defense. And when you have a team like the Ravens who can quite literally grind you down, control that time of possession, and keep the defense on the field, yeah, dude, I don't care what the defense is, they're going to wear down after some time. That's what it
Well,
comes down to.
at the end of the day, Ravens move on. Steelers on to Cancun. I don't think they'll end up moving off of Mike Tomlin, but I mean, I guess anything could happen. Mazz, real quick, did you see some of that stuff with Jimmy Johnson about trading Mike McCarthy and Mike Tomlin between the Cowboys and Steelers?
I did see that, and I wouldn't mind it because I honestly think the Cowboys, barring getting a wide receiver, fixing up the offensive line a little bit, and getting a running back, I do think that there is the offensive capabilities where, hey, we get this defensive head coach. You get the discipline with Mike Tomlin because the biggest problem I've had with Mike McCarthy has not even been play calls, even though, we all know about like the Dak QB draw. Where the hell did that come late in the damn game in the playoffs that cost them? My biggest problem with Mike McCarthy has been discipline. We are flagged more than I think 95% of the team constantly top 5 in penalties, whether it's offside, whether it's holding. Like, there's just no discipline for the Cowboys, right? And I've always said I think Mike McCarthy is a great offensive coordinator. I would love to keep him if he wants to stay at OC, but I think he has too much pride, and I don't blame him for that because this is a Super Bowl winning head coach. This is a guy who's coached multiple MVPs in Aaron Rodgers, right? And had high success with the Cowboys at times in terms of regular season. So I know he's not going to take that step back, but I just don't trust his leadership. I want him in charge of a unit, not the entire team. I think Mike Tomlin coming there with a good offensive coordinator for the roster that we have, and I think we are within this offseason, if they make it right, they could fix the holes that they have. And now you're talking about contending for a championship in Dallas when you have legitimate leadership. I would love to get Mike Tomlin as a head coach with this roster.
I mean, who wouldn't? If Mike Tomlin was available, I would want the Jets to trade 2 first-round picks for him. Not even joking.
It's legitimately, that's a roster too, where it's like there's capabilities. What he doesn't need to do much. You have a decent defensive unit for both of those teams, right when they're at their highest and healthy for the Cowboys' sake. And then you look at the offensive capabilities. The Jets need 1 quarterback and an offensive line. The Cowboys need some offensive line pieces and a running back and a second wide receiver. There's 3 pieces and you fix this team. With the Jets, Chuck, I really think within like 4 or 5 moves, they legitimately are back on the path to where we thought they were going to go. So Mike Tomlin can be the guy to steer you through those waters. Mike Tomlin is those guys with that roster. I mean, that's comparable to that Big Ben roster that he went all the way with, I think, with either side, providing that they make those moves and they get it. So within 2 seasons, I think that you could see Mike Tomlin make deep runs with those teams. He's that level of coach, but he needs the personnel. Those teams would have the personnel, providing that they make those moves.
We shall see.
Any qualms with what I'm saying, Producer Ant?
I do think Russ is not the option at quarterback.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest. I think he's lost his mobility, and the biggest part of Russ's game when he was at his prime was his ability to roll out of the pocket and get to guys on the sideline. When you can't with Russ, right? As a pocket passer, you can't utilize the middle of the field because he can't see over the line as a 5'10" quarterback. He needs to be out in space. He needs to be out in space. Like, and the only throws he can make when he's in the pocket are on the sidelines. If you're eliminating a whole third of the field as an NFL defense, that makes your job way easier. And I think the Ravens were able to exploit that. The only times they got burned were plays on the deep thirds on the sidelines. The Pickens play where he was able to break those 2 tackles, and the long play to Calvin Austin. Like, other than that, Russ wasn't getting anything over the middle. The defense was able to really easily analyze them and get them off the field very quickly. Did they even force a turnover the entire game? I don't even think they did.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they were just able to control the time of possession. The Ravens had 40 minutes of time of possession because they were just grinding the ball on the ground. The Steelers only had the ball for 20 minutes of that game. Like, it's not a winning formula at all. And I think the Ravens were able to capitalize. They saw what the Steelers did the last time they played. And I think the Steelers were just a team that was playing with zero confidence, losing their last 4 games of the regular season. And that's kind of where I see the Steelers.
And it looked like it too.
It looked like it from the opening kickoff. They just looked like a team that was dead in the water. And and that's not indicative of Mike Tomlin teams over the past 15 years that we've seen him. So the fact that that's what we've been seeing lately in the playoffs is enough for me to be concerned about the long-term future of Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I just really feel like I saw enough out of Russ where, like, I don't think he's the problem. I genuinely don't. I just think that there's limited options, but we'll see what happens.
All right, next game.
Yeah, Broncos-Bills was Sunday afternoon, the first game of that Sunday slate, and it was probably the worst of every single wild card game, except for maybe last night's. But we'll get to that.
It was interesting in the first half.
The first half was great. I mean, I was first time all season I was rooting for the Broncos and Bo Nix, and that first touchdown was electric. And then this third quarter happened. Josh Allen rolls out and makes that crazy throw to Ty Johnson to put him up 2 scores, and then the floodgates open from there.
That is one of the best touchdowns I've ever seen in my life.
It was a better catch than throw.
Chucky, it was great on both ends. Either
Charlie,
thread the
you're just being
needle,
a
and that's a
hater right
great
now.
catch. You're literally being a hater, Chuck. I'm sorry. If Aaron Rodgers would have did that for the Jets, you would have been like, "Oh my God, we're so here, baby. This is what we signed up for." Stop it, buddy. I know you hate Buffalo. I know you hate Josh Allen. I know that he's given you spankings for years and you can't stand it anymore. I'm sorry, buddy. But the fact remains, the throw of the first round goes to Josh Allen, and the catch goes to that wide receiver who may or may not have been out of bounds, but I thought he was good because he got the knee down first. But nonetheless, uh, I'm going to take us a different direction real quick. Bo Nix, I think there's a lot to work with there. I know that they kind of crapped out in this game. They just couldn't live up to it, but they're facing a juggernaut on the road. He's still, like, even though he's older, he's still a rookie, right? I don't think anybody should be looking at this as don't be on the Bo Nix train. There's an argument to be made that Bo Nix was the best quarterback out of all the rookies. I think he's second place. I think most people think he's second place, but I understand that, like, people prefer, like, his arm, people prefer his accuracy at times. So I like Bo Nix moving forward. I don't think he's Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels should absolutely win that Rookie of the Year in my eyes. However, Bo Nix needs some apologies. I don't care. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's too old, this and that." Experience pays off, my friends. And if they build up that roster, if I was just watching an interview where they were talking about, like, just having to play for Sean Payton and the playbook that he throws at you and how overwhelming it could be. And Bo Nix was on the verge of mentally cracking, and then somewhere around week 7, he just finally started clicking. I think there's some legit capabilities there. I think this is, again, just needs some roster moves. They have a fantastic offensive line to protect him. You get some legitimate talent in there with this young quarterback. You need to be watching out for the Broncos for years to come because they're here. Sean Payton has his guy, and this is what happens when you go and get a stellar head coach, their guy with protection. Now you just add in the other pieces. Broncos are coming, baby. I think 2 years, Broncos are legitimately going to be top 3 in the AFC.
I think next year, screw 2 years. I think next year they could potentially be a team that's contending in the AFC. Like if they draft a solid wide receiver option. I think Cortland Sutton's been great this year, but if you get an elite, pass catching option and maybe a running back in that offense, that defense is already at a certain level. I know, this third quarter of this past game didn't really reflect that, but they have a really good young defense that's playing well. You got a good offensive quarterback, and I think their O-line protection has been good this season. They just need one more pass catcher and a running back, and I think you're looking at a team that's going to be contending in the AFC as soon as next year.
I'll give credit where credit's due. Bo Nix had a great year. Definitely the second best rookie quarterback of this current class, right? However, I think he's a bit more of a product of his environment than people think so. I mean, he has one of the best head coaches in football, Sean Payton. Fantastic offensive play caller, fantastic, schemer and innovator. That defense was top 5 this year. Yeah, the weapons were not great, but the offensive line was fantastic. And what I saw a lot from Bo Nix was a guy who can play in time, can play in rhythm, but when you ask him to create, when you ask him to make plays, off script down the field, he can't do it. He just can't. I see a lot of Mark Sanchez in his game, and that's not anything bad. I mean, Mark Sanchez had a really solid, career in the NFL as a starter for a bit, and then bounced around as a backup here and there. I don't see Bo Nix as a long-term success story in the NFL. Let me give you guys his ranks on throws more than 10 yards down the field this year. Off-target percentage was 34%, which was 28th best in the NFL. Completion percentage was 41%, which was 29th best in the NFL. And he threw 9 interceptions, which was tied for the 31st most in the NFL. So I'll give credit to Bo. He had a great season.
Most?
Yeah.
So that means he didn't turn the ball over that much.
I must have.
So
No,
let me give you some stats.
31st least. I don't know. It's not great.
So
it's
second
not great.
most is what you're trying to say?
The graphic I'm looking at says tied 31st.
Yeah, but what's the stat is the question.
Interceptions.
Yeah, so first would be the worst, wouldn't it? He only threw 12
No.
interceptions.
9.
So no, 12. I got it right here on ESPN.com. 12 interceptions, 29 touchdowns,
Yeah.
12 interceptions.
These are on throws more than 10 yards downfield. That's how I would preface
okay.
this.
Well, listen, here's the thing,
Yes.
right? Kid still, you want the stats? Kid threw for 66% this year, 3,775 yards, right? And let's not act like that is a great wide receiver core. 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. There is clearly something to work with here. All right, and listen, we talk
I'm not
about
saying
the
there's
offensive
not. I'm
line.
not saying there's not.
You know, QB that rating was pretty high up there. I think there's something to be said just about experience, and I think that Bo Nix. Well, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is the next Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be the face of the league. I think this is a solid starter. I think when you put him with Sean Payton, it is a match made in heaven. Go get your personnel. This is your franchise quarterback. He could be
He's
top
Kirk
10
Cousins in
in
your
the
eyes, what
years
you're
to come.
saying.
Yeah, I think so. No, I think it could be a step further than Kirk Cousins personally. Like, I don't think it's a facade. I legitimately think that Bo Nix could win one Super Bowl within his time of being in the NFL. It's hard to win multiple. It's hard to win
Wow.
multiple.
That's a big
Yeah,
claim
I
there.
said it.
That's a
I'm
big
telling you
claim.
right now, dude.
Like-
I think this could potentially be the second coming of Drew Brees for Sean Payton. Not in the fact that he's going to put up
Wow.
those stats, not that he has that talent, but in terms of this is Sean Payton's guy, and Sean is going to get the most out of him. This is not just some washy quarterback that I've just been thrown and I really don't want to. This is a project guy who he believes in, and he is going to get the absolute pinnacle that is capable of him being produced. I think he's in the right situation with the right coach. That's all that I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's Drew Brees. I'm saying that Sean Payton has found his next Drew Brees in terms of the guy that he wants.
Yeah, but there's a difference there.
Sure,
Drew
and
Brees
I
is
just
Drew
said that.
Brees.
I got that. I'm not saying that he's the next Drew Brees. I'm saying it's the next Drew Brees in Sean Payton's eyes of this is who I want. This is who I want to build with, and I'm going to legitimately get the best out of it. Don't be surprised if we're talking about Bo Nix being one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league and within the next 5 years.
I think we've seen his peak. This is where he'll probably hover around for the rest of his
I don't
career.
think this
How
is
could
his
this
peak.
be
I
his
just think
peak,
this
Charlie?
is,
Who
this
was he
is
throwing
high
to?
praise for Bo Nix.
Who
right
was
now.
he throwing to?
Throwing to
Cortland
Cortland Sutton, Marvin
who
Mims,
else?
and Devon Vele, and
Stop it!
listen, dude,
Stop it!
listen. He had a great year. I think there's he was always a high floor, low ceiling guy coming out of college. I don't think there's a lot of room for him to grow from here.
I think this is the guy that we've gotten completely wrong coming out of college. And I think this whole we need guys. We want guys so young, but we don't want to give them time to develop. It's the way that we do things in the NFL is so half-ass backwards, where it's throw them to the fire. If they don't produce within 2 seasons, ship them the hell out. No. You need to cultivate. And this is a guy who doesn't even need that. First season looked pretty good. Broncos make it to the playoffs. And granted, it was a stinker, but let's not act like he didn't have some moments there. Let this kid cook. If you marinate this, you have something, I promise you. Bo Nix is going to be a guy that we talk about as being not only undervalued, but I actually think can legitimately be borderline top 5 in the NFL in years to come.
I think I'm like directly in the middle of both of you. I disagree with you, Charlie. I think there's more room for development with Bo Nix. I don't think this is his absolute ceiling. But Mazz, I think you're this is next level right now.
I
This is next level.
liked what I saw. No, bro, I
Top
liked
5
what I saw.
quarterback in the league.
I'm saying it could have reached those heights. Like, that is the unlocked potential with Sean Payton, right? I want to see better wide receivers with him. I'm not acting like Cortland Sutton's a bum. I'm acting like, let's not act like this is the crown jewel of wide receiver rooms, all right? I just want to see some more talent there. I always want to see more talent. I want to see GMs do their damn job. I want to see this kid put in an even better position moving forward. They already gave him a good start, right? He made the most of the opportunity. People wrote him off. They're like, absolutely do not draft this. This kid's too old. Stop that crap, bro. I just think that we need to be evaluating based on, we never want to talk about what guys accomplish. It's always about unlocked potential. Well, damn it, there's unlocked potential there. He just proved it, right? And he was already coming in, quote unquote, the most ready NFL quarterback. You know who else had that damn label? It wasn't Bryce Young. It wasn't Anthony Richardson. It's CJ Stroud. And CJ Stroud has been the best out of those three. I thought it was going to be Richardson. Some of y'all thought it was going to be Richardson. I believe somebody thought it was going to be Bryce Young, if I'm not mistaken, but it wasn't.
I thought it was Bryce Young.
It's CJ Stroud.
I mean, he hasn't been great this year.
there's been injuries to deal with, but he still was better than Bryce Young, and he still was better than Anthony Richardson. And do you not think that C.J. Stroud is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL in the coming years?
Depends on how he adjusts after this season. Because
That's
I
fair.
thought he was
I
going
think
to
he
be
will.
after last year, but
Yep.
definitely defenses figured him out this season. So
Okay.
I'm a little on the
So-
fence now.
I just think that the potential is there, and I see that with Bo Nix, right? I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm saying there's definitely a path to get there, and I think he's in the right situation, and I think CJ Stroud is in the right situation for both of them to climb those heights. I don't know if Anthony Richardson in the right situation. I don't think he is. I don't think Bryce Young is going to be. Maybe I'm wrong on that because he turned the page, and I'll give you credit there, Charles, because you were on that train before any of us were. But I still don't see Bryce Young being a top 5 quarterback in this damn league. I don't even see him being top 10 personally. I don't even see Anthony Richardson being top 10 right now the way that things are looking. However, I think Bo Nix has staked a claim of, hey, y'all weren't even talking about me. Y'all wanted Drake May. Y'all wanted Caleb Williams. I had the better season than both of them. Granted, I arguably was in the better situation, but I don't think he was in the better situation offensively than Caleb was, just protection-wise. Sure, but he didn't have more weapons to work with than Caleb. He didn't have the hype that Drake made, and people didn't want him. This was leftovers. He's too old. Nobody wants it. Dude, what you accomplish before you get into the league matters a little bit, right? And if you're able to translate it like he did, you're going to have just a fine career, and you're going to probably climb the ladder once this old guard starts, retiring a bit and slowing down.
I guess we'll see, guys, huh?
I'm big on Bo Nix, guys. I
Bo,
don't know
Bo
why.
Nix's development remains to be seen.
You know, my biggest thing about him is last point. The way this kid has such good arm strength that he's capable of doing that ridiculous rollout and that wide bend. I like to put. I texted Billy on the side. He was like, "Yo, Bo Nix looks good." I was like, # wide bend, and we had a nice little laugh about that. I just think, dude, there is everything that you could ask for. That's not superstar talent is there. The great fundamentals, great reads. This kid's gonna be good, man.
We'll see. I don't know. You don't know. Ant doesn't know. No one knows.
I know. I'm in my crystal ball, man.
Listen, I know ball. I almost had a
Mazzadonis.
perfect week this week. I know ball.
True.
Mazzadonis in the house, man.
All right. So next up on the slate was the Packers at Eagles. Was Sunday afternoon, late window, and I wouldn't say the Packers got like beat bad or manhandled or anything. I mean, they lost by double digits, but it was closer of a game than people would give it credit for. Packers defense played a great game in terms of slowing down Jalen Hurts. I mean, Saquon Barkley got going as he always does, and he was going to. And then, of course, the Packers offense just could not score points. Jordan Love, 3 picks. Not a great day from him, but of course, as we talked about, receivers were dropping like flies. No Christian Watson coming into the game. Jaden Reed comes out halfway through with a shoulder injury. It just wasn't great. And Josh Jacobs did his best to carry that ground game, but once you get down in the playoffs, it turns into a drop back game, and the Packers were just not equipped to hang with the Eagles in that sense.
I love that Josh Jacobs had a decent day. I'm a Josh Jacobs guy.
He's
All right,
great. He's so good.
I saw that kid play at Alabama. He injured 4 guys on one drive. All right. The most violent runner I've ever seen in college football. I'm a fan of him, and he's been doing wonders for Green Bay this season. This is a team where we've been preaching personnel changes. Jesus Christ, somebody please go get Jordan Love, somebody that can actually be consistent, that can actually stay healthy, all right? Because the guys that stay healthy can't catch the ball consistently, and the guys that do catch the ball consistently can't stay on the goddamn field. Please go get an elite wide receiver, all right? We all thought that they were crazy, getting rid of Aaron Rodgers, writing them off, this and that, but the fact of the matter is that Green Bay knows how to draft quarterbacks. Please do not make the same mistake and leave this quarterback drying out on an island without an elite wide receiver. They're out there. T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, whomever the hell you need to go get. Please, for the love of God, you want to talk about top 10? It's here right now, looking you straight in the face. You have a decent tight end. You have a really good head coach when it comes to offensive scheming. The defense is the most underrated defense in the NFL. They are in win now mode, and it just comes down to guys that can quite literally make a play down the field because he throws a good ball, he makes good decisions. There's all the talent in the goddamn world for Jordan Love. You want to tell me that you're not convinced on Bo Nix? That's fine. You want to tell me that you don't know about a guy's potential moving forward down the line like CJ Stroud, if he's going to be able to make that turn? Okay, Jordan Love is capable of it. We are seeing it right now. For the love of God, give him somebody that can catch the goddamn ball. Thank you. That's the tangent.
Yes, it almost feels like what they could do is they could, like, because they have a bunch of like solid receivers: Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. I can't remember his name at the moment, but there's another two in there. So here's my thing with coming into this game, and you remember last week I said I felt like there was a chance that the Packers could accomplish what they did last year against the Cowboys, again against the Eagles. And I will tell you the difference between both of those games and what was different for both of them. Number one, it was the opening kickoff fumble by the Packers. I mean, that was obviously going to suck the life out of the team almost immediately and dig a pretty deep hole for them to come out of off the bat. But other thing was for the first Packers possession last year in that playoff game against the Cowboys, and Mazz, I'm sure you remember this too. That first drive, Jordan Love hit Christian Watson running down the field for like a 60-yard gain on the first drive, and it just set the tone for the rest of the game. It completely set the tone for the rest of the day on offense, defense for both teams. And of course, Christian Watson didn't play coming into this game, and so Jordan Love couldn't get off to that hot start with a quick jab of confidence, and they were playing from behind for the rest of the day, and that's just not a recipe for success for them right now. Mazz, I'm with you. I think Jordan Love caught a lot of flack after this game because he threw a bunch of picks, but not all of them were like horrendous. Like I think one or two of them where he was just trying to force something with the game, like basically out of reach. One right before halftime to try and get something going on offense. But I think you get Jordan Love a bona fide number one receiver, package two of those guys up, trade him for a number one guy. I mean, you got something going there. But that defense is elite, top five, and they didn't even have Jair Alexander. That's how good they were. That's how really good they are. Didn't have their best cornerback, and they were still.
And they played a really great defense.
Yes.
In Philly. Playing in Philly is one of the hardest things to do. Those people are animals in Philadelphia. I don't know if there's more passionate fans on the planet than Philadelphia fans. Now, sometimes they take it too far, and I don't love the antics, but you cannot say that they don't rock with their city. Dude, it's hard just playing there. And you know what's even more scary? The fact of the matter is, Philly's just a little bit banged up right now, so when they get healthy, who knows? There's talks that Myles Garrett wants out of Cleveland, and they are the favorites to go trade for him. So if you add Myles Garrett to that Philly roster, are you freaking kidding me? Dude, it's already scary. I don't blame Jordan Love for this game, man. I just think when Josh Jacobs is your second wide receiver target, you got problems, So, personnel just seems to be the theme of the episode.
Kenyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, that secondary has been fantastic. The front seven's been great. And that was one of the main talking points, Charlie, when we were going into this week. I said this Eagles defense is going to be the main factor in this playoff run that they're going to go on. And I said, if there's any team that's going to take down Detroit in the NFC, I think it's Philly. It's Philly. Like I really don't see them, the Commanders getting past them this week. And I don't see if the Rams beating Philly, I don't see them taking down Detroit.
Philly's got, they have the firepower.
They have the firepower to contend with Detroit right now. And and really, there's no one else in the NFC that really even scares me. Philly needs to play the perfect game though. They need to play their game plan. And I think if they really want to be a factor in this postseason, it's going to be Jalen Hurts. And if Jalen Hurts plays the level of football that we know he can play, then I see the Eagles getting past Detroit. But if he has a lackluster game, that's going to be the death sentence. The defense needs to be their number one priority. Jalen Hurts needs to be number two.
If Jalen Hurts plays the way he played on Sunday against even the Rams next week, I think they lose. I'll be totally honest with you. I think the Rams actually have a decent shot of walking into Philly next week and upsetting the Eagles the way the offense looked. the way
Again,
Jalen Hurts
different
played.
defenses.
And
too.
if AJ Brown's getting one catch for 10 yards, they're not winning. I'll leave that there.
He was
I
reading on the
think
sidelines, bro.
Uh-huh.
I think Charlie's makes a decent point there. I think it does come down to the offense capabilities because if that offense catches fire, I think they can hang with Detroit. I think they have the better defense when it comes to them in Detroit because of the injuries right there. The Eagles can be the dark horse number one. It just comes down to is Jalen Hurts going to rise to the occasion? He's capable of it, but he's not the only one too. Guys need to step up. I know they're banged up, but this is the part of the season where you're paid the big bucks for, right? You gotta grind through it. You literally have a shot to bring a championship home to Philly within this window if they can just power through. They have the personnel. It's just whether or not that personnel is going to execute. I think they're going to make it at least all the way to the NFC Championship game. I don't see the Rams upsetting them. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, but I do think that Hurts is going to be able to pick it up and they're going to start playing some dominant football. I would not be surprised if we end up seeing the Chiefs and Eagles run it back. I just do not fear that they're not going to be able to get the job done against the Chiefs, but this is a team that everything that you're asking for, dog, you have it. You just got to make the best of it. But I would be pretty happy to see Matt Stafford upset the Eagles in Philly. Ooh, man,
Dude.
those Philly fans would lose their mind.
I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, or I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but dude, how sick would a Lions-Rams NFC Championship game be? Stafford back in Detroit.
And he wins.
Oh, well, that would be unreal,
You didn't
man.
want me no more. You traded me for the new model. Are you kidding me?
Beat me last year in the playoffs too.
Last year was the wild card, and then they started the season in Detroit this year.
If Matt Stafford somehow wins another Super Bowl,
he's putting himself in a lot of different conversations.
Oh, dude, he's already dude's a Hall of Famer in my eyes. You
100%.
solidified. You can't even. There's not even a counter debate for me.
No,
if they
there is
somehow
not.
pulled that off. But he has had one of the most unique careers in NFL history. He was the loyal guy. He was putting up stats, getting no love. Matt Stafford, I did not talk about Matt Stafford, and a majority of people did not talk about Matt Stafford in a favorable light until he got to LA. And you know what? Let me just say here right now, brother, we're sorry. All right? We did not know what you was working with. We did not know what you was capable of. And if he goes on a Cinderella run right here, he might not even need to win a Super Bowl again. If he could go on a magic run here, he might just change people's perceptions on him all the time and just might be able to sneak on into Canton.
All right, you know what? For now, we'll skip Commanders Bucks and we'll just go to Vikings Rams because we're obviously already talking about Matt Stafford and the Rams. But yeah, Matt Stafford is having a fantastic season. I mean, he didn't get a lot of credit early on because they were losing when they didn't have Puka and Cooper Kupp. But ever since week 6, they won like 10 of their last 16 games, I want to say, or no, 10 of their last 12 games or something like that, something stupid. And a lot of that is a testament to Sean McVay. A lot of it is a testament to the defense that's playing really good. But I'd hand most of that credit to Matt Stafford. He's still elite at 35 years of age. It's just unreal what he's doing right now. And then last night, just absolutely spanking the Vikings. I mean, that was just. I was really interested in Brian Flores as a DC or as a head coach, I should say, for the Jets. After last night, I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I want him as much anymore.
Yeah, but the Rams had the perfect game plan. Such a balanced attack last night.
Yes,
they're mixing the run with the pass. Kyron looked fantastic as well. And then you also have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Stafford. Stafford, some of the throws Stafford makes, you look at it and you're like, how did he fit that ball in that window? That was such a millimeter he had to put that in, and he almost sidearm no looks it into that bucket.
It's so casual too.
He's so insane, man. One of the best throwers of the football I think we've ever seen in this game. He's just so natural with it. And the Vikings really didn't have an answer for it for the first 3 quarters of that game. They sort of slowed him down in that fourth quarter, but he was.
But it was too little, too late, man.
By that time, it was already over. The Rams, perfect game plan by McVay. I think the defense played awesome as well. Aaron Jones had nothing going on the ground throughout that entire game. Jefferson only held to 5 catches for like 54 yards. Like the defense played their asses off, just to speak there. And the Rams had a great game plan, and the Vikings, unfortunately, 14 wins. And the way Sam Darnold looked, it makes the decision much more easier this offseason on what they're going to be doing. It's going to be J.J. McCarthy time next year.
I feel so bad for the Vikings, dude. 13 wins, all that just to be one and done. It's the most Vikings thing ever. I mean, it's just I feel so bad for that franchise, man. I don't know what it is about the Vikings, but never being one of the all-time winningest franchises in terms of win-loss. They're up there with the Cowboys and the Steelers and the Patriots. And I don't think the Bills are up there.
They went to 4 Super Bowls and lost. The Vikings, didn't they do like 3?
4.
Something like that. But I'm talking like
no, but the Bills was all like a 5-year stretch.
Sure.
Like if you pull up the winningest franchises, like in terms of total wins, the Vikings are up there, and they don't have a Super Bowl to show for it. And this is just adding to that pile of wins that they have with nothing to show. So sorry for those Vikings fans out there, especially your father, because I know he's been waiting for one for a long time, I'm sure.
I actually think that the fact that you think that they're moving on from Sam Darnold is ludicrous. You still don't know what you have in J.J. McCarthy. Yes, they were one and done, but he had just as good as, if not better than, a lot of quarterbacks that were playing in this first round. He was on par with C.J. Stroud in terms of what they did. He played better than Bo Nix. Okay, Russell Wilson did end up playing better than him. However, he played, I believe it was better than Justin Herbert. I already said C.J. Stroud. Jordan Love played better than Jordan Love. Like, dude, like it's not like that loss. I'm not saying was even on him necessarily, dude. Like he didn't look that bad. Like, yes, it wasn't great, but like there was holes all over the place. I don't think Sam Darnold is the reason why they lost this game.
It was the turnovers. It was the turnovers.
Charlie, I just pulled up the highest win percentage since 1966. Vikings are 4. It's Cowboys, Steelers, Ravens, all with Super Bowls. Vikings, none. Packers with Super Bowls. Chiefs, Dolphins with Super Bowls. Patriots, Niners, Broncos, all with Super Bowls. They're the only team in the top 10 without a Super Bowl.
Heartbreaking, man.
And they're number 4.
So, even with like the turnovers, like, dude, he had 1 interception and he lost a fumble, right? Like, all said and done, he went 25 of 40, 245 yards, and a touchdown, interception, and a fumble. It's not like the worst outing ever. Is it great? Is it what you want to see? No, but like
it's one of the worst outings. Literally, ever. It's one of the worst outings.
Stop it!
Were you seeing some of the throws he was missing?
Dude,
he looked exactly like he looked against Detroit last week.
Sure, but
he was missing high.
He looked like the Jets' Sam Darnold.
Okay, but the fact remains is that he still had a really decent year. I don't think 1-2 games is gonna make or break the decision. He's still gonna be in the room.
Biggest games of the season,
dude. JJ's going to have a chance to compete, and I still don't think that he's going to beat it out. They're rocking with Sam Darnold. He's the reason why they got there. You have no clue what you have in JJ McCarthy. You still have Daniel Jones who's going to be backing him up. Sam Darnold, right now, in terms of proven and testability in that quarterback room, that is the guy. You're not going to give him a max contract. If somebody wants to outbid you, let them do it. But for a decent deal, maybe a 3-year deal, all right, you do the deal. He's been fine this season.
It wasn't
He's
just
had
Sam
some
Darnold.
high highs.
It wasn't just Sam Darnold that gave
I know
that championship run. They had one of the highest ranked run defenses in the NFL. They had two the best receiving core with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, who just caught his first touchdown of the season yesterday, and Aaron Jones, who's a premier running back. A good offensive line that was able to rotate in some pieces midseason and still compete.
They looked bad last night, though.
The Vikings were a
complete
line. Team. Let's not get this twisted. It wasn't just Sam Darnold the reason why they got to this point in the season.
But he did not hinder. He did not hinder them this season.
He was a game manager.
Yes, he had a package. Sure, but sometimes
are you going to pay a max extension?
You're
going to throw
all of. They're not paying a max extension. He didn't do enough to get that. Right. I do think that he knows that this is the best situation to be in. Dude, that's fine. And you pay that. That's not a max.
Would you rather give a rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, who Kevin O'Connell has produced so many good quarterbacks over the last couple of seasons with Minnesota? He made freaking Josh Dobbs look good last year. Okay? This guy knows how to develop quarterbacks. And if he thinks J.J. McCarthy is going to be a guy that the Vikings can put their faith in, I trust him to develop J.J. to that guy. And you can pay him his rookie contract for a few years,
Even
invest
before
in different
JJ,
spaces in the team, and still compete.
even before JJ got hurt, it was reported that Sam Darnold was going to be the starter. It was never reported that JJ was going to be the guy. So Sam Darnold, that's fine, but JJ still has to get healthy. All right, Sam Darnold had the good year. You stick with what works. And if it doesn't work, guess what? I still have this rookie I can bring in. You do not let Sam Darnold walk out the door unless if somebody is outbidding you like crazy, then you let him walk. But if it's with, hey, we can afford this, we can bring him back. This is the guy who did the work. He outbeat the rookie, right? This rookie that I don't know why everybody's so high on, even the championship that he won, he was a game manager. So you're bitching about game management when the guy that you want to replace him is a worse game manager potentially.
Worse game manager who won a national championship.
I think he's going to be a worse game manager. That's just what it comes down to.
We don't even know what he's capable of, but I'm saying if Kevin O'Connell, who is a quarterback whisperer, thinks this guy is the future and was willing to waste a first-round pick on him, I'm willing to bet that Kevin O'Connell thinks that this guy's going to be better than Sam Darnold.
You know what? How much faith do they really have in him if they're going to be keeping Daniel Jones in the damn locker room?
If you're paying Daniel Jones $5 million to be a backup, doesn't hurt you.
I got the happy medium for you guys. Ready? You're slapping the franchise tag on Sam Darnold.
Sure.
You're rocking with him for one more year, at least for a few games. And if he starts to struggle again, then you yoink him for JJ McCarthy and you go from there. But Charlie, you can't just let him walk after the season he's had with the team.
But then you're going to pay him $30 million next year with the salary cap, $35 million. Dude, you got to pay some quarterback.
Probably going to be more. Well, the thing is, they're not paying JJ McCarthy anything, so it's basically like you're paying your franchise quarterback now just for a year.
But don't you know what I mean? You'd rather invest that money in different spaces in the team?
Not really. They don't have many holes to begin with. They have so much flexibility going forward because they have so much cap space. They have so many picks, and they still somehow won 14 games in what was supposed to be a rebuilding year. You know what I mean? They just have. There's so much. The Vikings are probably in the best spot of any team in the NFL right now because they have so much room to grow and flexibility with what they have right now.
And would you willing to bet your life savings right now that JJ McCarthy was capable of having the year Sam Darnold had?
I don't think in his rookie season, but I think if you give him
a
couple years to mature, I think absolutely.
Sure. But they're also in a win now mode with the talent that they have, and they don't want to see Justin Jefferson walk out the door, right? Do you think that he's capable of winning 14 games his sophomore year?
Yes.
Get the hell out of here.
A year behind Sam Darnold to even if he was hurt, to learn the playbook, to get immersed in the NFL scheming just for a season. You see how it works when a guy sits behind a guy for a year. How that develops.
Listen, this guy won a national title and still wasn't even that high on quarterback radars. He was clearly the fifth option.
He was a first-round pick.
They needed a quarterback.
What do you want?
What do I want? Dude, he's just not the guy. He's not capable of reaching what Sam Darnold did. Is what I'm saying.
You don't know that. He hasn't played a single snap in the NFL.
Dude, I do know that. I'm telling you right now. There's no way in hell that kid
Mazz is Nostradamus. He knows exactly what JJ McCarthy's career is going to pan out to. I'm telling you right now. I'm looking. Dude, there's nothing I've ever seen that has been exciting about JJ McCarthy. The fact that they have Daniel Jones sticking around tells me everything. Do you know that they're keeping Sam Darnold? The only reason why they drafted JJ McCarthy is two reasons. One, he was the best quarterback available because everybody else that they probably really wanted was not there. They could not make a trade to get up to it. Second, they did not want to play Kirk Cousins because they knew that Kirk Cousins was overrated, that Kirk Cousins wasn't going to be the guy moving forward. And they said, hey, let's bring in Sam Darnold. Oh, we have the rookie. We have Sam Darnold. And we're rocking with Sam Darnold even before the kid gets hurt. And then the kid gets hurt, and then Sam Darnold goes on to win 14 friggin' wins, makes it into the goddamn playoffs, and you want to write it off as if he hasn't done a goddamn thing. That's insane. He's lost to the same two teams, right? The Lions made him look silly, and then the Rams did the same exact game plan. It's very easy to make Sam Darnold uncomfortable. Once you put pressure on him, he's just not the same quarterback. Most veteran quarterbacks.
I wouldn't call it easy, though.
What?
It's great scheming, dude. Are you gonna act like McVay didn't have a great scheme with that? That his staff didn't literally just out-coach them? Like, I'm sorry, for all that Kevin O'Connell was worth, he ain't win no Super Bowl. McVay has. He's done this before.
Yeah,
come on,
bro.
Who
was his OC when he won the Super Bowl? Kevin O'Connell.
Sure.
The one thing I'll say is you
still winning without him.
You can't take away. They won 14 games this year.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
Thank you.
Teams don't win 14 games like on a whim. They just don't. It doesn't happen. You know what I mean?
To the roster, Charlie. That's the roster.
It's a
that
testament to Sam Darnold's quarterback play with that roster. Stop it. He didn't hinder them.
Are you slamming the over on the Vikings win total next season? And
yeah, because I think they're a good team.
They are a good team.
They elevated Sam Darnold to a level that I think he won't reach again.
I know, but you like they're not getting 14 wins without like good quarterback play. They're not.
Yeah, he had
4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and you don't want this guy.
No,
you don't want this guy
because he's shown me in the biggest of moments, in the biggest games, he flounders.
Yes, but J.J. McCarthy is going to fix that.
If you could pay him $2 million to do exactly what Sam Darnold did.
Dude, he can't do what Sam Darnold did. He's not capable. He doesn't have the arm. I do know this because he was odd, dude. He couldn't even throw up those damn numbers. He had the best team in college friggin' football.
Because he had the best rushing attack in the country.
Bro, just stop.
When you have the best running game in the country, you're not going to have to pass the ball.
There's a reason why Sam Darnold was a higher prospect coming out of college. There's a reason why Sam Darnold beat him out, even though he hadn't been a starter for years in the goddamn league. There's a reason why they went and got Sam Darnold.
There's a reason why you don't start rookies right away.
For the same reason why they went and got J.J. McCarthy and drafted him. Guess what? They went and got Sam Darnold because clearly your boy O'Connell said, I see something there and I think we can make it work. There's a reason why Shanahan brought him over and went, hey, we at least want this guy to be in our quarterback room because there's something there and there's something to work with. Stop writing this kid off. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady or he's Peyton Manning, but don't you dare act for a second like that kid didn't have a damn good year. And don't you dare tell me that you are convinced that J.J. McCarthy,
are the Vikings winning a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold? Answer the question. Are the Vikings winning a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold? Are the Vikings winning a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold? Answer the question. Are the Vikings winning a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold?
They have better odds of doing it with Darnold than they ever will with J.J. McCarthy. Thank you.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know that.
No, we do know.
You're right. We don't. But it's the box meme where it's like, okay, here you go. Ready? You can either have a boat, or you can have a mystery box that might have a boat in it. You know what I mean? Like it's just like I don't think you can just cut bait with Sam Darnold. You can
have a boat, or you can have a mystery box that can have a freaking spaceship in it. That's what this is.
Okay, have a spaceship.
But it could also have a
you so high
John Deere tractor in it. You know what I mean? Like I don't even know, dude. We got to move on because we've been on this conversation for way too long.
Why are you so high on this kid?
He has a good arm. He makes good decisions, makes good reads, and in a system like Kevin O'Connell's, he's a younger quarterback who you can build around. And clearly, they waste the first round pick on him. They know that he has the capabilities to be the guy in the system that they want.
They don't know nothing. The kid just got injured.
They don't know nothing. One of the best front offices in the NFL does not know nothing, right?
Dude, they don't know what they have in the kid. I'll give you that. But I'm sorry. That kid is not doing what Darnold did this season. I'll tell you that right off the rip. Stop this.
Next year, if JJ goes off and has a good season, I want you to retract this statement.
Okay, and I want you to eat a piece of paper fully in front of me when this kid hurts this team eventually when he gets the starting job, whether it's next year or years from now that they don't want to pay Sam Darnold again. I don't even think we're going to see this kid step foot on the damn field, okay? Stop. Not for the Vikings. I don't see it happening. It's not happening. Thank you. I guarantee you he starts next year as QB3 behind Daniel Jones. That's how confident I am right now.
All right. No.
Said it.
No.
He's going to be a starter next year.
I'm going to leave it at this. I think Sam Darnold will be the week 1 starter next year.
And if he's not there, I hope Sam Darnold goes to a team and absolutely just I hope he goes to the Jets and he wins a goddamn Super Bowl for crying out loud.
If he goes back to the Jets, he's going to fail. He's not going to have the same.
The Vikings have $73 million in cap space next year, and the quarterback franchise tag is going to be $41 million.
That's
so I really do think it's a lot, but I really think what's going to happen is the Vikings will end up just tagging Darnold, and just rolling the dice going into next year with both of these guys. They'll ride out Sam as long as they can, but the second they start to see him, struggle a little bit, they're going to pull him for JJ.
I think you got to ask that kid straight up, hey, you've had your best year of your career being here. Take a little less money. We'll give you a 2 to 3 year deal right now. And I think they get it done for somewhere in the high 20s. Because they're going to use that money everywhere else. They're going to tell them straight up, here's the pitch. We're not going to spend this whole $75 million on you, obviously. We need more pieces. Take this team-friendly deal. You're going to continue to win games. You're probably going to get some damn endorsements in the Minnesota area, just being the quarterback for the franchise and having these decent years. Maybe if we get some more pieces. You don't throw this attitude. This was a really good year. You do not throw that away.
All right, so we touched on Vikings-Rams. We skipped over Commanders-Bucks, and that was probably the best game of Wildcard Weekend. Right, fellas? I think we could all come to the consensus on that.
I'm not over it,
What,
bro.
Commies?
I'm not over that one.
Mazz, you and me both were on the Buccaneers bandwagon. And
I've been on the Baker Buccaneers ship, just sailing that thing, bro. And, bro, I thought they were going to be able to do it. I really wish that they had Chris Godwin available. I think it would have been a different outcome. But
I'm on that.
it is what it is. You got to give it to the Commanders, bro. You got to give it to him,
Jaden
But
Daniels, man.
if he doesn't fumble that one snap, I think the Bucks win, bro. But oh man, rookie wide receiver coming over on that handoff was just too fast. Baker messed up. He'd been having fumble problems all year, even though he only lost 2 of them. He fumbled the ball like 13 times, I think, with that one.
It was tied for the most in the league for quarterbacks, unfortunately. Yeah.
I mean, luckily for him, he only lost 2 of them, which I think is impressive. It's just he lost, the third one in the playoffs in that moment, just absolutely heartbreaking. But Baker's a warrior, and I'll tell you, dude, there's not many guys that I like watching play the game more than Baker. I'm not saying he's the greatest talent. I'm saying the confidence, the swagger. Every time he has a big run and he just plows through a defender, and then he gets in their face afterwards, letting them know, get off me. And dude, they were calling him a disruptor during the game. He's an agitator. He's just kind of, how do I put this, bro? He's kind of a prick, and I love it. I think it's so fun, and I'm sure if you're playing against him, you hate it, but Baker just makes the game fun. This is a guy who we have written off. This is a Sam Darnold-esque kind of story as well. Of just like, bro, he can be the guy. I really just think that, just a couple of guys healthy, and we were talking about this team just a little bit differently. But for all things said, got to give it to the Buccaneers for their season, but the Commanders were just a step ahead.
It was funny to me at the beginning of the game. I was like, why did the Commanders keep going for it on 4th down? Because it cost them like 6 points that they needed at a certain point when they were down. I think it was like 17-10, and like it was like, it could have been 16-17, and they could have been in this whatever. But it didn't end up mattering. They got enough of those 4th down conversions to take advantage of it. And Jaden Daniels, cool as a cucumber. I've never once seen him rattled. He's just every single play. He just, no matter what, it's a run play, it's a pass play. He's running it, pops right back up, back to the huddle.
They had his number for a little bit too on those runs. Like you saw Shaq Barrett match speed with Jaden Daniels and come up big on a big 4th down stop. But I just felt like every time that Jaden Daniels attempted to take off, they got to give to Todd Bowles. Like they were able to keep that in check, relatively speaking. But, it is what it is, bro. They were just too much to handle. You got to give it to Dan Quinn and them. And shout out Bobby Wagner. The guy's starting his Masters back up again after just playing in a playoff game. Like, dude's a monster. I know he has aspirations to be in the league front office. He's probably going to be there. But, dude, this Commanders team, I hate to say it, kind of fun to watch.
I think Jaden Daniels is the next superstar coming out, man. He is just so electric. You talk about his dual threat ability as a pocket passer. I mean, in his rookie season to be doing what he's doing, and Terry McLaurin finally having a real quarterback to throw to him the football, and you're seeing what he can do with that. The Commanders just are a team to me that they rarely overachieved this year and made the most of what they have. And I think moving forward, they're going to be a team that, in the NFC, we're going to be looking at as a perennial contender. But, I unfortunately, I don't see them getting past Detroit next week. But, again, a great performance last night or a few nights ago. The Bucks, I just think, the injuries were one of the big things that this season that kind of derailed their campaign. I think if they stayed fully healthy over this 18 game schedule, I think they would have had a much better record. I think maybe a 12-5 season. Just the wheels kind of came off with all those injuries, and I think the Commanders took advantage.
Yes, secondary injuries, and then of course the Chris Godwin injury was a massive blow. Jalen McMillan had a nice season, but he was never going to fill the void that Chris Godwin filled for the Bucs offense. So here's one thing that when it comes to the Bucs, it kind of feels like they need to move on from Todd Bowles, and I'll tell you guys why. So Todd Bowles, I had him as my head coach of the Jets for 4 years. And the same problems that he's had, the same success that he had in New York, that he's had in Tampa Bay, and the same problems. He's never been great at clock management. At the end of that game, there was a few times where you thought they could have been better in time management situations with timeouts and clock management, with especially with the Commanders' final drive and how the Bucs handled their last drive, and then the defense. It's not that it's outdated, but it definitely needs a bit more of a refresh, because the middle of the field is always wide open. And Jaden Daniels was taking full advantage of that, whether he was running, whether he was throwing. The linebackers just are always, he's always blitzing. He's always blitzing, Todd Bowles. And sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't. And I think Tampa Bay has the perfect head coach waiting in the wings as their OC, Liam Cohen, who I'm shocked hasn't gotten more head coaching interview requests from around the league. I think you move off Todd Bowles, you bring a fresh mind over to the defense, and you let Liam Cohen take over, and you let him and Baker Mayfield just tinker with that offense and perfect it. And I think for the Bucs, you have a perennial division winner down there for at least the next few years before the Falcons and Michael Penix can figure their stuff out, before the Saints can dig out of cap hell, and the Panthers can try and find a way to build a contender with their subpar roster right now.
There's this trend that I've been seeing in the NFL is with these high blitzing defensive coordinators, like high blitz percentages. It works against the young and inexperienced quarterbacks. But I mean, Jay Daniels, he is young and inexperienced, but he has the professional mindset. And he knows how to blitz. Like, I don't agree with the stance where you need to be blitzing 65-70% of the time, right? Like, you're just sort of like telegraphing it now, and now you're making it easier to have shorter throws over the middle of the field that you could go for 15, 20-yard chunk plays. You need to have a balance. You need to be able to play coverage. You need to be able to know when to blitz. That's a huge factor. If you're just going to blitz almost every down, you're not going to be able to have the success on the defensive end of the ball that leads to a team going farther in the playoffs.
Brian Flores, same kind of defense last night, and Sean McVay and Matt Stafford took full advantage of it.
Yep. Like, a good quarterback knows what to do.
Fellas, they tried telling me the Bucs weren't going to win the division. They tried telling me they wasn't going to make it. Atlanta's coming. The Saints are coming. All this BS. But they did it. I think that they're going to come back next year. I think that they're going to go get... I don't know what to do with Chris Godwin, man. Like, that injury history is concerning. I think you have to let him walk, and you got to bring in something. You have magic here with Baker. I know, but, I would still like to see more, Just bring in more. You're in this weird spot where this can mold into better, and it starts with not being complacent. Mike Evans getting towards that end. You need to capitalize while you can. Go get talent. Baker Mayfield is your franchise quarterback. He can do it. I want to see the Bucs have success. I don't know what it is about that franchise. I just thoroughly enjoy it. They're kind of like been my adopted team. I feel like the last 2 seasons, but yeah, man. I think the Bucs are just on they're on the edge of the bubble, and they're just waiting for it to pop in the right direction. But it starts with making good moves, man. And I don't hate Todd Bowles. I just do see that there is a limited capability when it comes to these defensive-minded coaches. Like, dude, you got to have some high firepower on offense if you're going to be focusing all that attention on the defense. And the defense cannot be giving up certain situations like that. And, like, I'm all for a good blitz. Sacks are my favorite thing to see in the NFL, especially when a quarterback takes a hard lick, However, you're rolling the dice, especially in a passer's league. You bring in all that pressure. Everybody knows just throw the ball to where the pressure is coming from. There's bound to be some openings, unless you got something funky going on to be able to cover it or some elite talent to get over there and make a play. But yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't think that Bowles is going to necessarily be the guy. I think he's definitely capable of coaching. I just don't know if he's capable of head coaching. He's like the reverse Mike McCarthy for me.
It's tough to say to like fire Todd Bowles because he's made the playoffs 3 straight years as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach. It's just
There's a threshold.
I just think they're limiting themselves just a little bit. I think there's still one more ceiling they can break through, and like I said, I think Liam Cohen's that guy who could lead them.
Yeah, I mean, there just comes a time where it's like I said, I don't think Mike McCarthy is a bad coach. I just think that there's a limit within. I think that like the things that he doesn't do well haven't changed. I think the same thing with Todd Bowles being a defense coordinator. The things that he doesn't do well hasn't necessarily improved for me. So, yeah, I'm not saying that they're bad coaches. I think they're hell of coordinators. I just don't necessarily want them at the helm of it. I was fine with keeping Mike too because I didn't think that there was really much else to work with in terms of a coaching field, but now all of a sudden Dion's entering and yada yada yada. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I think you made a great point, Chuckles, that maybe the guy that they need is already there in the OC.
I would have loved the Jets to have taken a shot at him, but they didn't even. Of all the people, the 60 candidates they've either requested to interview or interviewed, Liam Cohen's not one of them. That doesn't make any sense to me. But regardless. Anyway, that was Super Wildcard Weekend. I would say most of the games were pretty solid, at least for most of them. But like I said, that Commanders-Bucks game was the cream of the crop.
Every game was almost a 2-score game outside of that one. It was it was a rough weekend.
A couple of them were blowouts. I mean, like at least like Philly and Green Bay was like close for throughout. I mean, Chargers Texans was close until the third quarter. The only ones that were really not competitive was Baltimore and Pittsburgh and
Buffalo and Denver
and the Vikings and Rams, of course.
Yeah. Well, wait, listen, it was a bad weekend for NFL playoffs, for college football playoffs. Oh my, those games.
It was pretty good.
Oh my.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Penn State and Notre Dame was an instant classic. Texas Ohio State was like not as good because it didn't come down to the wire there, but I mean it did come down to the fourth quarter. So
yeah, I mean Ohio State made that goal line stand, that strip sack on Quinn Ewers, that Sawyer return was 82 yards for a touchdown to ice the game. That was fantastic, dude. That was a great game. I will say that was a great game.
I regret to inform you guys that I unfortunately, instead of watching Ohio State Texas, I subjected myself to the Knicks OKC blowout on Friday night, and that was not very fun.
Come on, man. Playoffs got to take precedent. What are you doing? I know you're a bigger fan of the Knicks than you are of the other two programs, but come on, man. Like, it's playoffs.
I know.
And I'll tell you right now, dude, Notre Dame is going to dominate this NIL era with just the money that they make. I mean, their TV contract deal, they're making more money than entire conferences are making. And not like these small MAC conferences. They're making more money than the entire Big 12 is. Like, dude, it's insane.
So
Big 10.
The reason why is because they don't have to share any of that revenue. Like, so like when it comes to Penn State, if they had won that game against Notre Dame, I think the purse was like 14 million or something. They would have had to split that money with everybody in the Big Ten. Even Rutgers would have gotten a taste of that money.
Yes, sir.
Believe it or not. But because Notre Dame's not in a conference, because they have their own TV deal with NBC, because of all that stuff, they get to pocket all that money. And hopefully, yeah. I mean, could they take some of that and put it into the school? Sure, maybe put it into a stadium renovations or locker rooms or whatever. But more likely than not, a good chunk of that money is going into the NIL portal.
You need to throw it into the NIL portal because that's like people want to be a part of winning. They already have the tradition. They don't need to modernize their uniforms when you have that
coach is beloved.
So hey, he might be out too. I know the Bears were interviewing him.
Marcus Freeman.
Bears are interviewing him. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
It's funny. He played at Ohio State too. They're playing Ohio State this in the national championship. He was an Ohio State linebacker.
That's pretty cool.
Like there were so many storylines too. Like I think Riley Leonard for Notre Dame and Will Howard for Ohio State were like roommates at the Peyton Manning quarterback camp back like when they were freshmen. Jack Sawyer, who was the linebacker that took the fumble all the way to the house against Texas, him and Quinn Ewers were roommates in college freshman year at Ohio State. Like So many like weird coincidences have been going on, and I mean that's probably partly because of the transfer portal and all these guys leaving and going different spots.
Oh.
But
Oh, you want to talk about the transfer portal? I got a quarterback, baby. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know if Carson
Beck,
Beck's
baby,
gonna...
how you doing?
Dude, he's joining Miami literally because they paid him $4 million and his girlfriend goes there. They lost their top 5 receiving targets. They're not replacing that, I think.
Isn't it the most expensive NIL deal for a football player ever? Carson Beck?
I think so.
That's crazy.
But
bro. he's not worth that.
Bro, oh, Carson Beck's not worth that, but JJ McCarthy's going to save the day. Get the hell out of here.
Oh,
Stop
my
this.
goodness.
Carson Beck stunk at the end of this tenure with Georgia. Stunk.
Dude, what are you going to do? He got injured. He still put up better
JJ
numbers
McCarthy
than
at least was an
ever did,
undefeated national champion.
Sure. And still, I bet you right now, if Carson Beck had that team, he would have just rode the wave, bro. Just rode the wave, just like
Garbage.
JJ McCarthy did.
Garbage.
Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't think anything's gonna change for Miami, but that was big news. I just thought that we should touch on that real quick. But yeah, Notre Dame probably gonna dominate. Ohio State has a chance to cut like the knees off real quick and set them back a little bit. But if anything, it would probably just piss them off more. And
Ohio
Notre
State's
Dame is probably gonna dominate.
favorite.
Yeah, the 8.5 points on the spread, which is just pretty wild for a national championship. But
that's always the case. Always the case in college football. Is the national championship's always like a crazy spread because one team makes a Cinderella run and the other one's just a dominant team.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Notre Dame going to be a powerhouse again in college football, fellas. Where we go next?
Jimmy Buckets.
Bro, honestly,
told Pat Riley to his face, I'm not signing an extension here. I don't want to be here. Trade me. Where's he going?
Fault. Phoenix. He's absolutely trying to force his way to Phoenix. I was upset that the Bucks wanted to make a push for him and he declined it. But the more that I thought about it, I went, you know what, Jimmy, I got respect for you for that. He's been battling the Bucks for years. Why would you want to join them? You know, like it's kind of selling out a little bit. There's really no history there with Kevin Durant in terms of competing against him. There's no history with Devin Booker and the Suns competing against. It's just whether or not will Miami even want Bradley Beal back in the deal. Is Pat Riley going to be petty and not let him go? Because the fact remains, he has not done enough to help Jimmy Butler win. I mean, Jimmy's got you to the finals twice, and it kind of felt almost single-handedly. Yes, Bam Adebayo helped, but was never able to rise to the occasion to be that true number 2 star. Tyler Hero was hurt for one of the damn runs anyway, and the other run just was not prepared, was just too young. Actually, I think he was hurt in the bubble. I think he might have been hurt both years, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, you have not traded for a star. Of course he's going to be disgruntled. And then when Jimmy speaks out, you know, granted he wasn't on the court, you're sitting there reprimanding him. You've done nothing to keep this guy happy. You got him no help. You're talking down against him in the media openly. Like, Pat, it's soured. Just go get some capital and do right by this man and let him go compete in the twilight years of his career. And if he wants to go to the Suns, damn it, dude, they got some talent. You know, I know they want Nursif out of there. I'm not saying that's what you want, but Bradley Beal, something. Just let the man go where he wants. Do right by him. He's given more than enough. This was the guy who pulled you out of the LeBron leaving years. Do right by him. Jimmy Butler deserves a statue in Miami for his antics.
I mean, what Jimmy's done for the Heat as a franchise has been incredible. He's kept them relevant in the 21st century. Or in the 2020s, I should say. I don't know. Yeah, if you ask me where I think he could end up, I think he wants to go home to Texas. I really do.
But to who, though? It won't be Houston. He just got suspended for fighting.
Why not Houston?
He just got suspended for fighting with Houston.
So
Dallas.
They got to do it. He's not going to Houston.
I could see him going to Houston.
Dallas ended up pulling out. I don't know what happened there, really. But it seems like all signs are pointing that he's trying to force his way to the Suns. It's just whether or not Pat Riley makes the move for it.
Could you imagine him going to like San Antonio and teaming up with Wemby?
That'd be cool.
I wouldn't mind it.
The thing with Phoenix is like who can they send back? Are they going to trade Bradley Beal in that? Yeah,
the money has to match up.
Money work.
Yeah,
it's too big of a contract. They absolutely got to move on from that. The problem with the Suns is that there's no damn defense. There's only one basketball to go around, and nobody's locking in on the other side of the damn ball. So it's like, yeah, I think Jimmy Butler is a good piece that they could use. I'm not sure if it necessarily gets you over the hump because I just don't love their roster construction. But anytime that there's a chance to bring in Jimmy Butler, that's been one of my favorite players to watch, a two-way star in the league, and he brings a winning mentality. I just don't know how that's going to affect the other personalities, which I don't know if is always concerned about winning over there. I don't know if Devin Booker's always concerned about winning.
That's why I think Houston's a good destination for him. Take the fight thing out of it. It was one of the destinations that he told his agent to put out there when he first requested the trade. I think bringing in Jimmy Butler would be fantastic for that young team, and with Ime Udoka as the head coach, I think is a perfect fit. He would instantly step in as the alpha dog of that team. He can do exactly what he was doing in Miami on Houston. They're the number 2 seed in the West right now, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe they dropped a few spots since I last checked, but they're up there. An injection of veteran talent and a guy like Jimmy who's gonna get everybody in line. I think it would be a perfect fit. I know the ages don't exactly line up because Jimmy's always, he's 35, 36, getting up there, and the rest of that Rockets team is a lot younger. But I think if you're looking to try and bring this team into the playoffs and get them some experience for the long-term future, I think that's a trade that you make right now. I'm not going to lie.
The only thing that I'm afraid about with it, and I think you made some solid points there, and I agree, but that's a best case scenario. The fact of the matter is they did just get into a brawl. Jimmy can be, that guy that is an agitator and, pushing guys to their limits at times. So this core of Houston, I hope that they don't look at it if they make this move as we already got here without him. What do we need him for? Like all this stuff. Like I hope that they would welcome him with open arms. But the fact of the matter is that these are human beings and you have no clue how they're going to respond, especially, this guy just was a part of those suspensions being in there throwing punches against you. So I have no clue. I definitely see him wanting to go to Phoenix more just from what I've been seeing from him. I would like to see Houston go and make a push because I have no clue where the hell they've come from being number 2. Good for them. But you know what? That is a testament to great coaching. Ime Udoka, a guy who I am still high on. And if you, like I said, any team that can bring in a Jimmy Butler and actually welcome it and utilize it, you're going to go places because he's that level of competitor.
Yeah, and what would be your prime destination spot for Jimmy Buckets?
I think San Antonio.
Yeah.
I think getting on the ground floor of that with Wemby, and I think that's one of the main things that San Antonio is missing is a second scorer to pair alongside Victor Wembanyama. Like you talk about it right now, like who's their second scorer? Devin Vassell? Like come on, like you need someone to pair up against with Wemby to get the most out of that offense. You keep Chris Paul as your facilitator, and you work with Jimmy maybe at the 2 or the 3, and then have Wemby working at the 4 or 5. That's a good offense. And if Jimmy wants to, he has what? If we're talking about Jimmy Butler and his ability to be a big game presence, I'd say probably another 2 or 3 years of that. And I think by the end of that tenure, San Antonio can be a championship contender. I think he could be a guy that can go into San Antonio and really turn the fortunes around there. And now it's not like San Antonio doesn't have assets. They got a lot of depth guys that they could throw into a deal, a couple of picks that they could throw in to make a push at Jimmy Butler. And I think him pairing up with Wemby is kind of a match made in heaven.
I fear that he wouldn't want to do that just because it is the closing moments of the career. Like how long does he have left in the tank? I think that there's going to be some growing pains there. And who knows, Pat might just ship him there just because. But nonetheless, I don't know if he's necessarily going to want to be there because I think he's definitely going to want to look at it of I want somewhere where I can absolutely compete at the highest level right now without selling out.
Do you think he can change the tides of San Antonio just by his presence alone?
I think he definitely gets them into the playoffs. I just don't know if they have even with Wembanyama, who's an, no pun intended, legitimate alien. Even with that and everywhere that Chris Paul goes, winning regular season just tends to follow.
Well, think about it.
Even with all that,
they're 4 games out from the 4 seed, and they're right now just outside the playoff picture.
I think they absolutely make the playoff picture. When you get to those later rounds, I just don't think there's enough firepower to get past, say, an OKC or a Dallas Mavericks,
How crazy is the Western Conference right now, man?
So close.
You have so many teams just hovering about around 500 in that play-in, and then OKC.
And think about this too, right? they're about to add one of the best stars in the East over to that conference potentially. You know, like you talk about stars in the East, Jimmy Butler's got to be within your top 5.
No,
You know, so
disrespectful.
hell yes.
Disrespectful. No. Tatum.
Jason Tatum, Jalen Brunson,
Yep. I think
Cat,
Donovan Mitchell.
Jalen Brown.
Donovan Mitchell.
Okay, I'll give you Donovan Mitchell, and then
What
Jimmy Butler. He's in
what
your
about-
top 6.
What about
Giannis.
Giannis?
Giannis.
Giannis?
Nah, give me Jimmy.
Whoa.
Jimmy. I want Jimmy. I want
Come
Jimmy.
on.
Dude, Giannis has a ring.
He's
Yo.
a better
Two-time
leader.
has a
MVP
ring.
and
I
a
want
ring,
Jimmy.
bro. Get out of here.
Giannis
with
has a
that.
ring.
Listen,
And 2 MVPs.
Jimmy has worked with less and has been in 2
Stop
finals. Damn it!
it.
I want Jimmy Butler.
Stop, bro.
Listen, I'm being biased as hell right now,
Yes,
and I
you
don't
are.
care. I love Jimmy Butler, and I'm just telling you guys right now. Yes, you can say that Giannis is the bigger star, but if I could have one
What
of them,
about
I want
Embiid,
Jimmy.
too?
I love him. I want Jimmy. He's hurt. He's always hurt. I want Jimmy.
Karl Anthony
Say what I said.
Towns.
I still want Jimmy.
He's been a star this year.
Yeah, Cat's kind of crazy. I'll give you Tatum.
Sure.
I'll give you Brunson.
Yep.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yep.
Giannis.
Yep. Nah, bro, give me Jimmy. I'm telling you. Give me
And then
Jimmy.
I guess Jalen Brown, if the Finals MVP. I don't know, man.
You want to know why I'm saying give me Jimmy over Giannis right now?
Why?
So if we go to our handy dandy NBA standings, looking at the East right now, the Bucks are in 6th. They have Damian Lillard. Thank you. The Heat are in 7th. I want Jimmy Butler.
They also have Tyler.
Jimmy
Hero,
hasn't
Bam
played.
Adebayo,
I still
and
want
no
him.
Jimmy.
I still want him. Jimmy has done more than Giannis has in the last 2 years.
No, that's just not
Mhm.
true.
It's not. How is it not? He was just in the finals.
Didn't Giannis win like DPOY the last 2 years? Or
Yeah,
am I-
and
am I
averaging
bugging?
30 plus
Wasn't that,
points
I
per
think
game.
that was 3 years ago. I'm
All
almost
right.
He's
positive I
averaging
got that
31
right.
this year.
Yo, dude, I'm not saying Giannis
Last
is
year he's
bad.
averaged 30.
I
Like he.
I
come on.
prefer Jimmy. I want Jimmy.
Yeah, dude,
Alright.
you're smoking on that one, bro.
I'm not smoking,
I
dude, it's a
think
lot.
you're the only person in any NBA circle that believes that.
Jimmy has taken the Bucks out multiple times in the playoffs. All right,
Didn't
Giannis
Giannis
was
take
on the
Jimmy
damn
out of the
floor.
playoffs too?
Once he took Jimmy out once. All right, he's taken them out twice, and he's had less help doing it. I want Jimmy. Stop this.
All right.
Jimmy
Fair
is
enough.
like Jimmy is like that. He's of that Kawhi Leonard mold, where yes, guys are going to put up better numbers than him, but with his defense and the leadership, I think he has more impact on the floor when it comes to winning.
Jimmy likes Elaine. For my Seinfeld fans, you know what I'm talking about.
I hate you
The Jimmy.
so much right now. So much.
It's my favorite episode of Seinfeld.
We have reached the point where Ant has made a Seinfeld reference. And it's time to wrap this thing up. Fellas, my final question for you. Are the Cavs actually legit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
are we like solidified one? They're the best team in the East, 100%.
No,
You're sold on
Boston's
this?
the best team in the East.
Okay.
Yeah, but if the question is Cleveland legitimate contenders, the answer is yes.
Cavs or Knicks?
Cavs.
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 Give me the Knicks.
Come on,
Give me the
Charlie. Stop.
No,
it.
no. Listen. So the Cavs are a really good team. Absolutely. They still have the same problem they've had the last 2 years. Kenny Atkinson or not, JB Bickerstaff or not, they don't have wings. The Knicks have wings. They can. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are shutting down the Cavs in the playoffs on defense. I'm telling you, it's just.
I think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are shutting down your boy Cat.
Well, Mitchell Robinson's gonna be back, dude. Mitchell Robinson
that's
owns
your score,
Jared
man.
Allen.
That's gonna be your 25 point per
Okay.
game score right there.
I'm
Mitchell
just saying,
Robinson?
Chucky, 8.5 games behind. That's all I'm saying.
Great. Let's see what happens come playoff time, baby.
I'll
I
tell
mean,
you
you're
what's going to
eight
happen.
deep.
come playoff time.
You're 8 deep
The
man
Knicks
rotation
are
right
going to
now.
end up. I'll tell you right now what's going to happen. The Knicks are going to end up playing the Magic, and the Magic going to come from behind underdogs. A little Paulo Banchero action, baby. Get 'em
Charlie,
out of
how's
here.
your 8-man rotation going right now?
Not great. Not great. And I'll be real with you. I'm more scared of Orlando than I am of Cleveland.
What you need to be afraid of is running
Orlando
your own
is-
players into the ground.
Orlando's a worse matchup for the Knicks right now.
Orlando
Absolutely.
is missing Mo Wagner and Paolo Banchero and they're still the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference.
I'm assuming health, but yeah.
If they're healthy, man, they're gonna be dangerous.
I'm telling you right now, the health is the biggest thing that you need to worry about. Y'all are running them boys into the ground right now.
Yeah, we are.
So we'll see.
Charlie,
what happens.
warned you.
There's still time.
I
Still
warned
time.
you,
Still
Charlotte.
time.
I warned you in the offseason. I warned you.
You and Khalil both.
Good God. Hey, shout out the city of LA. We're praying for you, And Pops, we're praying for you. Thank you guys. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
We'll be back next week.
Follow Instagram.
Follow
and
us on
TikTok
Instagram. Yeah, thanks, Ant.
at
Thank
Mazz
you.
and Bads podcast. We'll see you next time.
You have been listening to the Mazz and Bad Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.